Welcome to the Dalen Show. Hey, people. Hope you're doing well. As always, it is always a blessing to be in front of your screen, in your ear if you're just listening. And I'm just happy to see the progression that we're making through season 4. This is already going to be episode number 9. Can you believe that? One more episode will be halfway through season 4, so it's a blessing to be here. Thank you guys for your support. I'm not going to do much talking. I have been waiting on doing this episode for a long time. A big fan of this guy, and just truly proud of what he's been able to do throughout his lifetime. So let's give it up for our guest this week, Mr. Caden Davis. Woo-hoo!
Appreciate it, man. I'm happy to be on.
Of course, man. First of all, how's everything going for you right now? I know you guys just wrapped up spring practice not too long ago. So how's everything going in your area right now?
Yeah, it's been going real good. To start the semester off, just back into workouts, going hard. Teams looking real good to start the year and just going harder than really we have been because we know we got something good upcoming this year. And then spring ball started like right around spring break time. Mm-hmm. And that was pretty good. Coach Kiffin does a good job of making it fun. I'm sure you saw our spring game.
Yeah, I was there.
Different dunk contests, hot dog eating contests. It was a lot of fun. And so we just wrapped that up. And now this time of year is a little bit slower, just a couple workouts a week. And then we'll have summer break for a couple of weeks in May and then just start rolling again when we get back here for summer school in June.
And I want to stick on that just real quick because people that don't know, our spring practice is usually just like a scrimmage between two teams. But this year we did things a little differently. Like Caden just said, like we had a lot of different contests and things of that nature. Was this year kind of maybe like a more of a, was it harder to adjust to what we did in the spring this year for you, or how did things flow out for that? And I know a lot of people are saying, and I've kind of come to this point too, we're dealing with a lot of injuries right now, and so there was no need to kind of really do what we usually do. So how was this year's spring kind of different from other years, and how did you adjust to it?
Yeah, so this is my 6th spring ball now, actually, since I graduated early out of high school. So it was definitely different, not doing just a traditional scrimmage, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was a little bit different getting used to, but like earlier in the week, they had us doing a walkthrough out there just so everyone knew where to go, and transitions were smooth since it was on TV. So it was a little bit different, but I mean, it wasn't too hard to just kind of get in the groove of doing that because they kind of were telling us where to go. Yeah. And then, part of the reason I think we did that was because there were some injured guys, and also just, I think because we had a veteran team and like having a scrimmage wasn't really going to do too much for a lot of the guys. And so just to prevent any other injuries that could maybe come down the road, like if something did happen in a spring game, so we didn't have any injuries in that. Yeah. And then also I think just because of the portal now, like you just don't want to risk losing guys because of something that happens in a spring game.
I got you. Well, before I get too far into talking to you, man, if you don't mind, Caden, I'd love for my listeners and watchers to kind of get a brief overview from our guests about who they are. So if you don't mind, just sharing a few things about yourself, where you're from, just the things you've been able to do to get you where you are today so they can get comfortable with you.
So I'm from Coppell, Texas, which is outside of Dallas. I grew up there my whole life, grew up playing soccer, actually. And that was kind of my first love. And that's what got me into kicking. So I was just kind of naturally good at it from growing up playing soccer. When I went out for my first year of football in 6th grade, somebody had to be the kicker and ended up being me. And my first 3 years of football, I wasn't really too serious about kicking. Mm-hmm. I kind of just did it for fun and I played the receiver and safety too. And then my sophomore year of high school was my first year on varsity. And that's kind of when I realized I was pretty good at it and could maybe take it to the next level, got serious and started training with some real kicking coaches. And then from there, I had some success in my high school career. And I committed to Texas A&M my junior year of high school, graduated early after my senior season, got down there and was at A&M for 4 years with Jimbo Fisher as the head coach there. And I mean, it had some ups and downs there. It wasn't the best experience. And I left for a reason. And that's what got me here to Ole Miss. And couldn't be more thankful for some of the stuff that happened there to get me to where I am now. And I'm thankful for all the highs and lows because it's what shaped me into being successful now. And I got here at Ole Miss last January, and I've loved it here ever since. I love Coach Kiffin, the whole staff here. I love Oxford, and it's just been great.
I love that because not only am I a huge fan of you, but I know the town and the state is a huge fan of you. And I want to ask you one more thing before I fully get into you. You kind of mentioned the veteran leadership that we have on this year's squad and just the meaning behind it. For people that don't know, this year has kind of been labeled as the last dance for our football team here at Ole Miss. A lot of our returning seniors will be coming back for one more year, and we've had a lot of high value transfers to come in for probably just one more year. Caden, what has the acquisition of a lot of your new teammates meant to this program? And also, what is the vision not only for yourself, but for this team for this upcoming season?
I mean, I think just all the guys coming back, all these old guys coming back, and the acquisition of some new guys in the portal that'll be new to the team, like all of us fully expect that there's no reason we can't be and won't be one of the best teams in the country. I think that's the mindset in the building, that we have what it takes, and it's just up to us at this point. The things that we do day in and day out from this point forward, and from when we started workouts the first day in January. And what was the second part of the question?
What is your vision and the team's vision for this season? What is the goal for this season?
Yeah, I mean, our goal, we're taking things one day at a time, but for sure we have a goal to win the SEC, make the playoff, and win a championship. And I think everyone in the building fully believes that it's completely possible and we have what it takes. But for right now, we just got to take things one day at a time, because that's really all we can do is maximize each day, so that when those games come later down the road, we're ready for them.
I love that, man. I want to go back to growing up in Coppell, Texas, man. Talk about your childhood and what was it like growing up in Texas, and where did your love from soccer come from? I love that answer because I had the chance to chat with a lot of kickers, and that's where their love come from soccer. Yeah. So what was your love for that? And maybe did you support a team at all? Where did your interest in soccer come up from as well?
I started playing soccer from when I can remember, maybe 4 or 5 years old. I think my dad kind of got me into it, but really I played every sport when I was younger. And I was good at soccer, so I liked that I was good at it, and I just kept running with it from there. The team that I probably supported was Chelsea, because my club team was Solar Chelsea. So I kind of rode with them, but I didn't follow Premier League that much or anything, but really I just loved playing it, and it was a lot of fun. It's pretty big in Texas too, so that made it a lot of fun too. But growing up in Coppell was great. Pretty much, I went to public school there and played every sport I could get my hands on, and just loved competing, loved being outside and running around.
I know my reaction is probably substantial to you, but as people know, I'm a big Arsenal fan. So whenever I ask that, I know my reaction is kind of different. But I love the answer, man, because I love that some people have a soccer love, which isn't too popular in America, but I think it's a growing thing right now.
Yeah.
Talk about your family, man. Your parents and your siblings. I'm a big family guy, and my family's meant the world to me, and I could not be where I am without them. Talk about what your parents and your siblings have meant to you, and how did they allow you to grow into who you are today?
Yeah, so both my parents have definitely been my biggest supporter, and have from the start of, I guess even when I was younger, just always putting me on every team I wanted to be on, being able to practice and train for different sports. And then up to high school, they brought me to all these different camps across the country to try to make it to college, and just different stuff, training kicking. And they still come to every game pretty much, and come down here every weekend for home games. And it means the world to me how much they support me. And it's a big reason of my why. And then apart from that, I got 2 brothers. I'm the middle child. Mm-hmm. I love both of them. And I think just growing up competing with them too, and just always wanting to beat them, that's kind of what drove me for a little while too, even if it's just playing a pickup one-on-one basketball game. Yeah. When I'm in middle school, I just wanted to beat them. So that definitely just has helped me as an athlete, just always wanting to compete and be the best I can be.
I want to ask you, because I always emphasize that being an athlete, especially in college in general, but in high school as well, it's not just being an athlete, but you're also a student athlete. You're known for just being one of the, I would say, smartest guys I say on the team. Just your academic role and your honor roll preference, how important is it just to be the best classroom person that you can be and just making sure your grades are where you can be? Because, football won't last forever. And I know that's something that we love, but how important it is to be a great person in the classroom.
I mean, it's definitely extremely important from my perspective. Like, the reason why I try hard in school and it's important to me is because, like, if I want to be consistent on the field, like, I got to be consistent in my whole life,
Yeah.
Like, and as a kicker, consistency is the most important thing. So to me, like, how can I expect to be consistent on the field if I'm not taking care of business off the field? And I feel like it kind of just sets a standard of how I live my whole life. So when I go on the field, like, there's no questions or any lack of confidence, because I know that, like, this is just how I do things. So that's definitely real important to me. I mean, I'm getting my MBA here now. I graduated from Texas A&M. So I'll be finishing up my MBA next December after, like, when the season's closing up. And it's been a good challenge, but I've liked it a lot. It's real good. Like, in the MBA program, all your classes are with all the same people, so you get to know some of those people pretty well, and it's real cool. And it's definitely been a challenge putting it all on my plate at the same time, though.
I love it, and I'm going to give you your flowers for that, because that's something that you're an athlete, and I feel like you guys have so much on your plate in general, just being an athlete. And so on top of that, you doing what you're doing now, getting your MBA is very incredible. So keep up the good work, man.
I appreciate it.
Of course, man. In high school, you talked about you finally got on that varsity team sophomore year. What was your first offer from college, and maybe how did you react to it? Did you think this is something that you could actually do successfully going into the future? How did you react to getting your first offer, and who was it from as well?
So my first offer was actually from Texas A&M.
Okay.
The recruiting process for kickers is a little different. Like sometimes big schools will offer earlier. Small schools kind of offer later. So it's not that weird to get some big offers first.
Yeah.
I mean, I expected that I could do it. And, like, it was kind of a surprise to me that it came early like that. I think I was only the second guy in my class to get an offer. But, like, I went to those college camps, and I was always one of the best ones at them. Yeah. And there's a training and ranking program called Cole's Kicking, and I was ranked, I think, number 2 in that. So, like, I knew I was definitely good enough. It was just a matter of, like, what school and when. Yeah. And it ended up being Texas A&M.
Can I ask you, was that your dream? Did you have a dream at all? And if so, was it A&M or was it a different school?
Yeah, so my dad went to Texas A&M, and I grew up going to A&M games. So it was definitely a dream just because I grew up watching them. And so getting them as my first offer, it wasn't too hard of a decision, and I went ahead and committed to them, and the rest was history.
Caden, if you don't mind, could you give a piece of advice to guys in high school and even college right now that are maybe still trying to get their feet wet, that are attaining to be not only just kickers, but football athletes? What advice would you give to them to help motivate them to get to the place where they want to go and keep them there as well?
I mean, I would say the most important thing is, like, it sounds cliche, but just putting the work in, because it always pays off. Like, something I've been talking to my younger brother about. He's in high school football right now. Like, you can't expect to put the same amount of work in as an average person and get different results. Like, so, like, if you want to have extraordinary results, you got to put in extraordinary work. Yeah. And it sounds cliche, like that, like, working hard, obviously it's always talked about, but it really does pay dividends, and it's definitely what can set you up for a bright future.
I love that, man. Thank you. Caden, what are some of your hobbies outside of football? I know that you have kind of devoted your game and your career to football, but what are some of the things that you do outside of the game that you spend your free time with, and the things that make you happy outside of football?
One of my favorite things, especially now that it's warming up, is golfing. Me and my friends out here, we'll go golfing a lot. And I like that. In the summertime too, when I get a little bit of break too, I like going out to the lake, surfing out there. And then also, like, probably the biggest part of my life is my faith and following Jesus.
I love that, man. Me as well. So I appreciate you for sharing that, because I know a lot of people have that same faith but aren't really contentious with sharing it. Thank you for sharing that. I want to ask you one more kind of off the wall question. Not really off the wall, but a weird question. I love music, and I love to ask people what their music take is, what kind of genre artists they listen to, and maybe as well on game days. Do you listen to something particular to get you ready for a game? Is your game day playlist a little different than your regular day playlist?
Yeah, usually. So on game days, usually I'm listening to some Christian music. I don't listen to a lot of music, but on the bus ride over, that's what I'll put on, and it's more to just kind of put my mind at peace. And like I don't really like, for me as a kicker, like I don't really feel like I need to get all wound up and juiced up. Like I'm more want to be level headed and like at peace. Yeah. But outside of football, I mean, I like all kinds of music. I like country music. I like some rap music. I can pretty much get down with anything. Lately, it's probably been more country than anything, but I like it all.
I love that. And I'll give you your flowers again, because people will know that whenever I ask that, no one ever says. I had someone last episode that actually said they like country music, and that was the first time I think I've ever heard it. And so I appreciate you for saying, I know you're a big country music fan, as am I. And so I love when people share that with me, because
who are your favorite country artists?
Right now, Luke Combs. Yeah. I know Morgan Wallen was here recently, so I've gotten into Morgan a little bit, because I honestly didn't know a lot about him until recently. And so that's someone I've gotten into. But Luke, and I'd probably say Chris Stapleton. Those are probably my top two right now.
It's hard.
They're definitely a vibe. Yeah. Your transition to college was one of the hardest times, I would say, because of COVID and just the transitions it made, not only just in football, but in life in general. What was life like when you got to campus? Let me ask this before I say that. When did you arrive to campus at Texas A&M, and was the transition smooth for you? Was it a difficult one? How did you kind of process being away from home for the first time?
Yeah. So when I first got there, it was like the year before COVID hit. It was in January of 2019. So I had a year at A&M before COVID started. And I wouldn't say the transition was too bad, because, I mean, College Station was only 3 hours from Dallas. So I would go home a little bit that first semester. And then in the fall, my parents would come down for games. So I still saw them a good bit, and it wasn't too bad. And then, well, the second question about the COVID.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what was your life like during COVID? When did you guys have practices? How did you have practice if you did? How did you have film sessions? How were classes transition? Like give people like a breakdown of what life was like in that college bubble during COVID.
Yeah. So when it first started, we were actually on spring break. And so I was out at one of my friend's lake houses that week, and we kind of got the news that what was kind of going on, and we didn't really know what was happening. And then by the end of the week, we ended up hearing that like school was canceled for another week. So we were just like, all right, sweet. We get to stay out at the lake longer. And then like we kind of realized it was more serious, and we didn't know what to expect. We started having some team meetings on Zoom. And so then they end up canceling like spring ball. They end up canceling the rest of the school semester. It all moved to online, and we didn't know what to expect. So pretty much like the whole second half of the spring semester, I was just back home. And then in June for summer school, we end up going back down and have summer workouts and stuff with a class that's still online. And I think technically the workouts were optional, but that's never really the case. In athletics, if something's optional, it's not super optional. So then after summer workouts, I think in August we have fall camp. Things probably got pushed back a little bit, but I mean, school was online for at least a year, I think. And we have these practices, and everything was just different, wearing masks and getting COVID tested all the time. Yeah. And all of the, like, how you got to be spaced out. So it was different. But I mean, we ended up still having our season. It was the all SEC schedule that year, which was honestly pretty cool, just only playing SEC teams and none of those random games that are just blowouts. So that was fun. And A&M, we actually ended up having a good year that year. I think that was the year when we ended up ranked 5th, and people kind of say we got snubbed for making the playoff. But we ended up having a good year. Things were definitely different during those COVID times. Having not many people in the stadium, it was definitely different. And not as fun of an environment, but I'm glad we still got to play because a lot of schools didn't get to.
Did you, and this can be growing up or even now, did you have like a athlete or a kicker or anybody that you kind of just loved what they did and maybe watched and learned from them, or just maybe it wasn't a kicker, but someone, an athlete or anyone that maybe you just learned their motivation and have their work ethic from? Was there anybody in your lifetime that's been able to do that for you?
I mean, if I'm thinking back to my childhood, my favorite athletes were probably Cristiano Ronaldo, and I'm from Dallas, so Des Bryant.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
But I wouldn't say I didn't follow them that closely though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would watch games, but I didn't know much about them as people. I just liked the way they played, but I mean, I didn't watch sports too much to really model my game on somebody like that. And also I didn't really even think about playing at the next level until probably my sophomore, junior year of high school. So as a young kid, I wasn't even really thinking about that. I was just having fun with it,
Yeah. Gotcha, man. Caden, if you don't mind, could you just go a little deeper and talk about your time at Texas A&M? What was it like playing under Jimbo Fisher, who I know is a controversial figure now, but what was it like being at A&M? And what were some of the experiences that maybe you got at College Station that you'll cherish forever?
Yeah, I mean, Jimbo is definitely a super old school, hard-nosed coach. Him and Coach Kiffin probably couldn't be more complete opposites. I went from one end of the spectrum to the other, but I mean, I don't know. I don't have too much to say about my time there, honestly. It was the culture wasn't great there. And I mean, I love the university. I love the town. And they got some, the athletic department as a whole, they got their stuff together. But within the football building, things weren't probably where they needed to be. And that's kind of why the past couple of years, things just gone downhill there. Because, I mean, it just wasn't sustainable and culture wasn't great. And when that's the case, it's going to be hard for a team, no matter how good the players are, it's going to be hard to win. But I mean, I still value my time there just because of everything I learned, and definitely learned some lessons through good and bad there. And so I'm still thankful that I was there, and I know it was a part of my plan.
What is the process for people that don't know, even myself? What is the process of entering the transfer portal? What does it take for you to actually say, hey, I'm leaving and I want to go somewhere else? And also, what were your options other than Ole Miss, if you had any? And what did the process come down to for you picking Lane Kiffin in Oxford, Mississippi?
Yeah, so entering the portal, pretty much all I had to do at A&M was I just went into the compliance office and talked to one of the workers in there and told them that I wanted into the portal. And I think I had to fill out some forms maybe, and it took maybe 24 hours, and then I was entered. And I mean, I went in there cold turkey and had no idea if I was going to get a lot of interest or not. I didn't know what was going to go on. And then, I mean, pretty quickly things started heating up. I think the same day I got a good amount of messages from just a bunch of random different schools, real small schools to some bigger ones. And then as things kind of went on, I mean, it was probably 2 or 3 weeks of just talking to a bunch of different coaches. My final 3 that I were probably really considering was Ole Miss, Texas Tech, and Kentucky.
Okay.
I did want to stay in the SEC just because it's the best conference of college football.
Sure.
And I mean, I liked all the coaches here a lot, so that made the decision pretty easy. And also just playing here, when I was at Texas A&M, I always thought it was super cool, and I knew that Ole Miss was going to be good, better than Kentucky. So, and that made it not too hard of a decision. Probably the biggest thing though was the special teams coach that I committed to here. Though I liked him a lot.
Talk about that. What goes into in the midst of transferring? The process of meeting with coaches. Who are you meeting with? What are they telling you? What are the things that they go over with you in those meetings? If you can, just you don't have to go too in depth. But what are the things that go into meeting with who you meet with and what they go over?
Yeah. So for me as a kicker, one of the main things that everyone would kind of talk about was their situation at their school. Like some schools, they'd be like, yeah, we have a senior kicker who's graduating, so it'll be like you and a sophomore kid. Or like some schools would be like, we have a guy who's coming back one more year who just kicks field goals, and the guy who kicked kickoffs is leaving. And so some schools were kind of just wanting to bring me in just to do kickoffs. But that's kind of why I left A&M, because that's what I was just doing there. So that was a big reason too about Ole Miss, was that they needed somebody to do both. And so that made it interesting for sure. I'm trying to think some of the other things we talk about with coaches. I guess like where they had been before, like their track record, guys that they've been successful with.
Yeah.
Stuff like of that nature.
Could you go talk about Coach Kiffin? I know you have kind of been a part of now both spectrums of what is now the A&M and Ole Miss rivalry, but what has Coach Kiffin meant to you? And as well, what has he been able to do for this program in school in your eyes?
Yeah, I mean, I love Coach Kiffin. I think he's great at his job, especially with where things are in college football now with NIL and the transfer portal. Like he runs this program like he's the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, and he knows how to work the business, and he's real good at it. I think the biggest thing two biggest things that he does that I think really help this program are, the first is just believing in his players. Like for example, that Tulane game, the second week of the season, I hadn't proven anything in a game to him yet, really. And he put me out there to clinch the game for 56 yards, and it was just like, and that's what he said after the game, was that you got to believe in your players. And so that was a real big deal to me. And you see it all the time of him just putting guys in situations to excel. And then the other thing that he does that I think is a great job is we just have fun playing here. And that's probably the biggest difference. Like at A&M, it was a job and people didn't love it. But here, like practices are fun. Like what we did in the spring game and just the whole culture and environment here, like we just have fun playing. And I think that makes a big difference to a lot of guys.
I'm going to come back to the Tulane point. I was at that game and it was super fun and super awesome to see you do what you did in that game. But I want to ask you, what are, in your personal training time, what do you work on as a kicker? Like, are you working from different yard lines, different yard sets, maybe in different wind environments? What are you working on to help prepare you for any type of situation in the game?
Yeah, all of those things. When I'm just working on my own, I mean, I can watch film and kind of see some real small things that would be hard for me to describe in the technique stuff, but I'll go close ones on both the hashes, all the way back to some far ones just to get some different visualizations. I'll do, we have field goals that face every direction on our practice field, so I can get the wind going each way.
Yeah.
A big thing too is just doing a lot of live operations with the snap and hold, doing that with some rushes. And then one thing I like a lot that we do here is like pretty much all of my kicking with the team in practice. It's like it'll be different situations that we're in, whether it's like overtime or 2-minute drill or like just a red zone period. That's when I'm kicking, just when it naturally comes up. But like at A&M, when I would kick, we just had scripted 6 field goals in a row, which is not like a game at all. So I like how we do that here because, it imitates a game. How like sometimes I could hit 4 field goals in a practice, and sometimes it could be none. And that's how a game is too. And you just got to be ready, 1 shot, 1 kill, ready to go.
And I know you don't have to go too in depth about this, but do you have any opinion on how NIL and the transfer portal is kind of commissioned the way it is right now? I'm a believer that you guys should be getting paid, but I also think there needs to be a lot of work done. Do you have any opinion or take on how it's kind of running right now?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that it definitely makes sense that guys should be getting paid for this because of how much money we make for other people. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, it makes sense to get compensated some, and there's some guys that are definitely valued more than others. Yeah. But also, like, there's not a lot of regulation on it right now. Yeah. And so I think there does need to be something to be done. Something does need to be done, but I mean, I don't know what that looks like really, but people higher up than me that deal with this stuff, I'm sure that they can figure it out. And they probably need to bring together like a bunch of coaches and athletic directors to figure something out to make it a little more, just have there be a standard within all of college football and all the sports really.
I want to go back to that Tulane game. And for people that don't know, it was a game that was back and forth. Tulane kind of had us in the first half. We got them in the second half and ended up winning. But you talked about Coach Kiffin's kind of belief in you. And although he hadn't seen much of you in in-game experience, he still had a lot of belief in you. You went out there and executed. How important is that for you to know that your coaches have belief in you? And also, what does that make you feel about yourself? That although my coaches may not have seen much of me in real game experience, they're putting me in this national TV perspective against a ranked team. This can make us a do or die. And mind you, people, this kick was like, this was 4th down. We were like almost on the opposite side of the 50. And if we don't, convert or make that field goal, Tulane gets the ball back, they make it win a game. So what does it mean to you to have belief in from your coaching staff as well?
I mean, it's huge. It's everything for a kicker. I mean, it's definitely boosted my confidence and got me rolling for the rest of the season. Yeah. And I mean, it's not like I'm not putting all of my confidence or hope in these coaches, but having that feeling from them definitely puts a lot of confidence in me, and it means a lot, really. I mean, I think it really set me up to get going for the rest of the season and that early on. Because, like, really, at that point in my career, I hadn't proven much. I'm kicking field goals. And so, I mean, it definitely set the tone for the rest of the season and got me rolling. And it meant a lot.
I loved it more because me being there, and people that don't know Coach Kiffin, he goes for 4th downs a lot. That's just his thing. He's a new age coach. And so I'm there and people are like, why are we kicking it? This isn't going to go well for us. And it went well for us. You can see Coach Kiffin just give his little air fist bump.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, I think kind of the question of the season has been, and I think you may have answered it or not, but what's been your farthest kick that you've been able to put through the uprights? Even if it's not in a game, what's been your farthest kick that you've been able to make?
Yeah, in the game, it was that one against Tulane that was 56. Mm-hmm. In practice, I mean, with some wind, I've hit some in around 70.
Okay, yeah. I love that. And I want to ask you, based on that answer, your name got developed this year, not only in Oxford, but in the conference and in the nation. What does it mean to you to see your name come up on award nominations, to see your name come up in just different aspects that maybe it had been before, because now you're kind of more in the spotlight, but also you're executing in that spotlight. So what does that mean for you?
I mean, it's big time for sure. And I'm super thankful to even be in that situation. Yeah. And I mean, it's a good feeling when you put in all this work for it and you can kind of see results from it. And so honestly, for me, it just makes me want to keep working harder and just continue to fulfill what I know I'm capable of, what God's put in within me, and just continue to prove these people right and prove some people wrong from a while back.
I wanted to ask you earlier, but I didn't get a chance to. Throughout your time at A&M and here at Ole Miss, what's been some of the most hostile environments that you've been able to be a part of? Maybe it can just be fans in general or stadiums in general. What's been some of the most hostile programs that you've had to face?
I think definitely probably the most hostile is LSU. And honestly, when I was at A&M, though, I remember thinking that Oxford was pretty good. I mean, it's not the biggest stadium or the loudest, but the fans will give it to you. And I remember in pregame warm-ups, people yelling some crazy stuff.
I love that from both perspectives. Being here, this student, because I'm not much of a trash talker, but I've experienced our student section giving it to especially A&M players this past season. And LSU fans being here, and I'll be in Death Valley this upcoming season. There was it was something to see as well. I want to ask you, Caden. I don't know if I want to do 5 or 3, but I'm going to do 5 with you. If you could have dinner with 5 people, dead or alive, who would they be and why?
Number 1 definitely would be Jesus. That's no brainer.
Amen.
Number 2, I would love to have dinner with Theo Vaughn.
Ooh, okay.
Because he's hilarious.
Okay.
Number 3, maybe like Michael Jordan and 4 Kobe. I want both of them.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Not LeBron though. And then number 5.
Straight shots right there, man.
Number 5. Give me I don't know. I'm blanking on some of my history right now. Give me Abe Lincoln.
Okay.
Just because.
All right. I love that. And I'll say this as people that may watch consistently or listen consistently, those answers are always kind of dividends to who people are in their real hearts. And so I love that. I love that you gave a little sneak diss to LeBron. I'm a Bron fan, so it kind of stung, but I like that anyway because I understand the Kobe and MJ perspective. I'm a lover of all 3, so I love that, man. I love the Theo Vaughn too. That's really different. I like that one. I like that.
Hilarious. I would be a great dinner with him.
I want to ask you one more thing before I kind of ask like some of my final questions. Has a transition to Oxford, what was it like for you? And now that you've been here for a good time, what has the city meant to you? What are some of maybe your favorite food places or things to do in the town? What is the city and the town meant to you as well? Yeah,
the transition here was pretty smooth, honestly. I live by myself here, which I've liked a lot, just kind of being on my own. And I mean, I got some good friends down here now and kind of know my way around everything and know my spots. I'd say some of my favorite restaurants, probably Bourrée on the square.
Mm-hmm.
It always hits. I like Big Bad Breakfast a lot.
Okay.
And I mean, if I want something nice, Grill House is fire too.
Yeah. Okay. I've heard of Big Bad Breakfast, never been to it. Like, if you go to these places, like, do you have a go-to thing on your menu that you have to order? Or do you try to change it up every time you go to these places?
No, I like to change it up. I mean, there aren't very many foods that I don't like, so I like trying new things. And those places, you can get pretty much anything, and it's good.
I love that, man. I want to ask you, like, my final thing is something that I ask everyone, and it's like 2 questions in one. But first is, what advice would you give to people watching and listening? And it doesn't have to be about football, but it can just be about life in general and things that you would want to maybe help in their lives. And secondly, what do you want your legacy to be? So legacy is something that's very important to me. And when people hear the name Caden Davis, what do you want people to always remember and think about who you were as a person? Okay,
so probably the biggest thing I've learned and advice I could give is kind of like I talked about earlier. Like, you just got to keep working. I mean, in life, things are always going to go up and down. You got to just keep trusting God and keep working, because at the end of the day, if you keep working hard, things are going to work out, in my belief. And like, you just don't let things happen to you, and you be the creator, you know, like you're in control of your own life, and don't be the victim. You just can make your own future, you know, if you keep working, keep pushing. And then my legacy, I mean, I would say I want to be remembered for, first of all, being a tremendous follower of Jesus and spreading his word and being a light to the world. And also just being somebody who didn't give up. Like, no matter what happened to me, like, you can't put me down. Like, I don't care what I go through. Like, I'll always get back up.
I like that, man. And myself, but I know my mom and grandma will be listening, and their devotion to Jesus Christ himself, they are just smiling and loving what you're saying right now, especially as young as you are, because I will, man, say this as well. It's not that common for people in our generation to be so devoted and have a strong relationship with God at our age right now. And I've grown so much since 2024 started with my relationship to him, and it's changed my life so much for the better. And so I thank you again for sharing that with me. Sure. I want to ask you one more thing. what is your end goal? Do you want to play and get a chance to go to the NFL? Do you not want to, play professional after college? What do you want to do after you officially leave Ole Miss?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try to go to the NFL. I think I'm going to have a good shot. I mean, it'll depend on this next season. Yeah. If I have a good season next year, I probably get drafted. And even if things don't go like exactly how I want them to, I'll still probably have a shot getting picked up and getting competition in a training camp. So after next season, I'm going to go give the NFL a shot and just go from there.
That's awesome to hear, man. And I'll tell you, we'll always be supporting you and giving prayers to you, man. So I wish the best for you on that journey, man, because I always support you no matter what, man. And I just want to say thank you, man, for reaching back out to me and joining me today. It was good to hear you and listen and learn and laugh with you a little bit, man. And just want to say thank you again, man. It means a lot to me.
For sure. I appreciate you and appreciate you finding me after that LSU game and getting the picture.
Of course, man. My goal was to see who I could see, and I saw 4-1. I'm like, I know who 4-1 is. That's my boy Caden that went crazy in New Orleans a couple weeks ago. So I rushed over it, and I saw you, and I saw Dayton Way, and I saw JD like on top of something, and I think he was with his mom. So I'm like, let me get a few pictures if I can, because that's man. I tell people you never know how many opportunities you'll get in life to enjoy college like that, and man, it was just It was a stressful game because I had a hard time feeling like we were going to pull it out there at the end, but we did it. And just being on that field was something that I'll cherish forever, man. So I'm glad I got to see you there too, man.
For sure.
If you don't mind, Ken, one more thing. I'm sorry.
No, I just said that was an electric game.
It was. One more thing. If you don't mind sharing your social media with people so they can follow you, reach out to you if they want to as well.
Yeah. All of my social media is just _Caden Davis.
Appreciate you, man. As always, man, best of luck to you, man. I'll be there a lot this season, as you obviously should know. And I'm excited for you, man. So we wish the best for you, man, and nothing but blessings on you, man. Appreciate you again.
Appreciate you, man. Keep up the work on this podcast.
Of course, man. Thank you. And thank you guys for listening, man. I hope you guys enjoy it. I sure did enjoy it, man, because Caden is, again, like I said, someone that I've wanted on for a long time and someone that is really emerged in the last year, but I still think is underrated just because he's a kicker. But kickers are really just as important in any other position on the game, but that's a whole other conversation that I can get into. So again, appreciate you, man. Hope you guys loved and learned and enjoyed this as much as I did. God bless you all. Take care.